providing necessities of life to those that you and your bosses refuse to provide.
You guys
breaking
do
his rights.
respectful social
He's
distancing.
allowed to
Stand
get...
back from me a little bit. I need 8 feet.
Whoa.
I need 8 feet. Stand back. Okay?
Or what?
Stand
You're gonna
back.
fucking threaten me and abuse me?
Hey, guys,
Do not do
6
that.
feet.
Tell him not
6
to
feet
touch
away.
me.
6 feet away for
Back up
everybody.
now.
That's for everybody.
Canadians are rapidly losing their civil liberties. Over the course of this crisis, Justin Trudeau and leaders across the country are showing their true stripes, as most government leaders tend to do. Whether or not you elected them in good faith, whether or not you voted for them and were happy with them when they were elected, everything changes when a crisis appears. It gives leaders an opportunity to gain power that they never would have had the opportunity to get through democratic means. Now, leaders are directing police officers, and sometimes police officers are even acting without direction from political leadership to arrest or fine people who they deem are breaking the rather haphazardly made laws. Sometimes it's not even laws. Sometimes it is just mentions in a press conference, as Justin Trudeau does every morning. He might say something and police act on it when maybe they shouldn't. Now, across the country, from Vancouver to Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, and Toronto, we are seeing cases pop up where people are getting fined for going about their day-to-day lives in very normal ways. They're not risking anyone's health or safety. They're simply doing what they need to do, from walking their dogs to getting regular exercise. In the case today, it was a man in Calgary who was actually feeding the homeless when he was given a ticket. You cannot make this up. Artur Pawlowski received a ticket of over $1,000 for feeding the homeless. Again, you cannot make this up.
This is not event. This is not your picnic in a neighborhood for the fun of it. We are providing necessities of life to those that you and your bosses refuse to provide. You got all kinds of events happening right now, and yet the Calgary's finest are not bothering them. This is the hypocrisy of this city. This is the hypocrisy of our wonderful, fearless leaders. Where is Naheed Nenshi, the mayor of this city?
You guys
breaking
do
his rights.
respectful social
He's
distancing.
allowed to
Stand
get...
back from me a little bit. I need 8 feet.
Whoa.
I need 8 feet. Stand back. Okay?
Or what? You're
Stand
gonna
back.
fucking threaten me and abuse me?
Hey, guys,
Do not do
6
that.
feet.
Tell him not
6
to
feet
touch
away.
me.
6 feet away for
Back up
everybody.
now.
That's for everybody.
The police surrounded Artur while he was in downtown Calgary giving food to people in need. They gave him this ticket, and we are going to help him fight it. We put out a call at fightthefines.com. We're saying we'll give legal help to anyone who needs it, who was acting in good faith, going outside and doing what they need to do to continue on with their lives. They weren't being overly aggressive or hurting anyone or risking anyone's health or safety. They were just doing what needed to be done. And in the case of feeding the homeless outside, as Artur was, you can see in this video here, he was simply feeding the homeless outside. There's no safer way to do it. In fact, he was speaking with me earlier when he mentioned that it is much healthier to feed them outside because the alternative is taking them to a shelter where it's packed, they're indoors, and it's much easier to spread COVID-19. Now, I was able to speak with Artur personally. After viewing the video of his arrest, I was stunned. I spoke with him, and I had a brief interview with him on Skype. Check this out.
First of all, for the past 21 years, I'm feeding the homeless, mentally ill, people that are living under the bridges and bushes in the city of Calgary, and I started over 30 ministries like this. It's called Street Church. We are taking the church to the streets, and at the same time, we're feeding thousands of people every single week. I have been doing this for the past 21 years, and of course, that's what I was doing on Friday when 12 armed officers with gloves, tasers, ready to tackle me down came announcing that this gathering is illegal. I was absolutely shocked because in a time of crisis, we believe that the church should be out there, should be feeding the poor and helping the community. And be mindful, I'm doing this for 21 years without receiving taxpayers' money. I'm doing this as a volunteer. I have 100 volunteers We're feeding thousands of people. We charge nothing. We do not receive any subsidies. We do not receive any money from the government. In fact, every time, 4 times a week that I go to the streets to feed the people, to feed Calgarians, Canadians that are in need, I'm paying a fee to the city of Calgary. So when I go over there, I'm required to pay a fee to feed their people. I mean, it's insane. The Friday that they showed up, they announced that this gathering is illegal, that I am not essential services. Can you imagine feeding the poor, mentally ill, people that are not allowed, that are barred from shelters is not essential services, but EB games is, liquor stores are, marijuana shops are, Walmart is essential services, but feeding poor, suddenly it's not. I was surrounded by 12 officers. I mean, it was a scary experience, I'm telling you. I've had my runs with the authorities, but they came totally different. They were ready to tackle me down. I was there with my wife. I really thought I'm going to be arrested. And $1,200 ticket was given to me. And I was told, I was threatened that if I ever show up again, more is coming, up to $1 million. Can you imagine? And I said, why not trillion of dollars? Like, I don't have $1 million. What are you going to do with the citizens? We can't pay amounts like this. It's unbelievable.
Now, we have retained a lawyer for Artur. We're going to be fighting this at the Calgary courts, and hopefully it is going to get thrown out. Spoke with a lawyer earlier this morning. Here's that.
Yeah, so with Artur, he had, or he does regularly hand out food to the homeless. He works with the city of Calgary. He gets permits in place for that. And in this case, the law is moving so quickly and kind of haphazardly that I don't even think the police really necessarily understand what is happening with the law and how it's evolving with this pandemic. And they haven't, at least from my understanding, we haven't received any disclosure yet, but they haven't uniformly applied the protections under the Public Health Act. And so when we have certain principles of law, and one of those principles of law enshrined in our Alberta Bill of Rights, enshrined in our charter, is the equal application of the law. And the police, I don't think, have done that in this case. They have specifically, it seems, targeted Mr. Pawlowski and his church organization.
The problem is many Canadians don't know what rights they had until they're gone. Maybe this will be you tomorrow. Maybe it will be your grandmother who is taking her dog out for a walk. Maybe it's going to be your son who is working in a charity and needs to feed the homeless like Artur. We don't know what is going to happen if we allow our liberties to fade away. If you know someone who this has happened to, tell them to go to fightthefines.com and sign up. We'll reach out to them and get their story. If you want to contribute to what we're doing here, we're a journalist organization, first and foremost, but right now we're kind of acting like a civil liberties organization because it doesn't seem like anyone is really standing up for these people who are just going about their lives in good faith, helping the homeless or getting exercise in or taking their dogs out for a walk. We want to help them, but we need your help to do that. If you go to fightthefines.com, you can pitch in a few bucks to help us continue with our legal crusade against authoritarian police officers and political leaders. Thanks for tuning in. For Rebel News, I'm Cian Bexte. Go to fightthefines.com, and if you could pitch in a few bucks, that would go a long ways. I know times are tough right now, but our civil liberties are worth it.